automation tools to make evidence synthesis faster. So I'm Justin and I'm at Bond Uni. I'm going to assume most of you know about systematic reviews, so I'm going to just skim through this fast. But basically, there's 6 steps in doing a review. You've got to write a protocol. You have to find some studies, normally with a search. You have to select those studies by screening them manually, generally 2 people. Extract and assess the study data. Again, manually still, despite what some AI tools might say, for the most part, it's still manually. Synthesize that either in a meta-analysis or narratively by summarizing it, and then you've got to write your review. We now have tools for all these different bits. A long time ago, when we started building tools, we realized that what we needed to do was find out exactly every single step you need to do a review, so we could then pick out which steps were best or most amenable for us to build a tool. There's about 34 tasks now that we've identified. You don't need to worry about writing all of this down because we've already written this down for you somewhere else. So that's about 31, actually. Hopefully get your manuscript published. This is the Systematic Review Accelerator. So this is the Evidence Review Accelerator, TERA-tools.com. I need to change that heading. So this is it. It is a subscription platform, or it will be. So it's we're just finishing off the open beta version or open beta testing now, which is pretty much finished. We've got all the bugs and we're ironed out, but we're going to wait till January 2025. So next year we'll launch the subscription version. So what that means is if you're using it for free and not paying anything, that's fine. It's all good. But it means you can only be running one project at a time. So you've got to load up, create your project, finish it, delete it before you can start a new project. If you subscribe, and we're still talking about the money-wise, but we're thinking about $100 a year for an individual to subscribe to TERA, you can then create as many projects as you want. So you can be running 10 projects all at the same time. As part of TERA, you can also invite people to join your review, which is quite common. You can join, whether you're paying or not, you can join as many reviews or projects as you like. It is only creating a project, more than one project, that requires a subscription. Saying that, people based at Leicester and Glasgow will be have access to free subscriptions. So, because, I feel it would be unfair for us to incorporate tools developed at Leicester and Glasgow and then charge people to use those tools. Felt a bit rude. So there are free subscriptions available now. Nicola and Alex have the free coupon code, the free codes to let you subscribe for free. They're in charge of handing them out, not me. So if you want the free subscription to TERA, hit up Alex or Nicola. I think they got 50 at the moment. If the rush is insane and more than 50 people want a free account or free subscription, I'll just send another 50. So I can create an infinite number. So if you want a free subscription, Alex and Nicola will help you out. Or not, if they don't like you very much, I guess. Finally, before I get into starting to use the tools, so these tools and all the tools we do and all the work we do is based around this idea that we don't want to replace the need, or we don't think you should replace the need, and you can't replace the need to have skilled people as part of a research team or a review team. You can obviously have new people come into a team. Like not everyone needs to be an expert, but you still need some skilled people in that team to help you work through your review. These tools do not replace the need to have people who know what they're doing as part of the review team. They just allow skilled and non-skilled people to use their time more efficiently, speed up review production, but they don't replace the need for all of that knowledge that you do need to do good research. We have help guides and help video, which I won't really worry about because I'll talk about them now. So this is TERA. This is the homepage. Nothing too special there. There is a how to use TERA video, which is about a 20-minute video, which just goes over every tool in a tiny amount of detail. Soon there might be a 90-minute workshop video up there as well. I'm going to go through every single thing to do with project management to start off with. So these are my projects. So I have a free subscription. So I've got quite a few I'm working on at the moment. So to create a new project, because when you create an account and log in, you won't have one, hit the create button. Then just ask for a name. I'll actually use blue light to treat acne, which is quite a common one that I use. So then you can select the project type. So we support a few, and if you're wondering, we've graded these out because we want people to know that we were aware of the fact that there are other study types out there and that we haven't gotten to support them yet, as opposed to people emailing us and saying, hey, what about cohort studies, or what about mixed methods reviews? Have you thought about them? So we just haven't had resources to create tools for them yet. So you select the type of study you want to run, hit create project. It will give you your project. You can give it a short name, which will help with file names and other things. Project type. So if you were watching, you would have noticed that the number of tools available now for clinical audit studies is only one, which is our clinical audit writing wizard. So this helps you write the protocol for a clinical audit. So clinical audits commonly done in hospitals to kind of test the safety or other parts of patient treatment. If you don't want to do a clinical audit, you can switch it out. If you want to do a randomized trial, it will then load in the randomized trial tools that we have, which again is pretty much just the trials wizard. So this will help you write a randomized trial. I'll be going through the systematic review wizard in a lot more detail, so I won't go through this one, but it's very similar. There's a bunch of things you fill in, and then it will write the method section of your trial for you. We also support scoping reviews. So scoping reviews are a bit different to systematic reviews. So we've got quite a lot more tools for that. And we have a scoping review wizard as well. But I'm just going to stick to systematic reviews now for today. And so all that's done is switched in the review protocol writing wizard as opposed to the scoping review protocol wizard. You can invite people via email to the project. Now, Matt has an account, but if you don't have an account, it'll prompt you to create one if you like. So Matt currently hasn't accepted, so he's light blue, I guess. If he accepts that, he'll switch to member, and he'll go dark blue, same color as me. You can invite as many, well, in theory, as many people as you like. Project files, so I don't have any files here yet, but you can store anything you like here, PDFs, Word docs, references. You can upload multiple file types, RIS files, XMLs, text files, even NBIB files from PubMed and CGI files from Ovid as well. So you can upload them all and it'll process them and understand that they're reference lists. And then we do have a project history if you're really keen. But for the most part, you would either stick to project files or project settings. So that's pretty much it for, oh, and I should mention this, Matt spent a lot of time putting this in. If you don't like the icon we've given you, you can browse a list of 1,000 icons to give to your review for whatever reason you might like. So, review wizard. So I have actually got one I've pre-filled and done earlier, which I'll be using most of for the rest of this session, but I will start here from scratch. So what you do is you just get started on your review wizard. So you'll see there's a bunch of stuff down here. You just go down that list and you just answer all of the questions. So title page, this will pre-fill with whatever your project title was. People, this is anyone you want to be an author. And then anyone who might have helped with acknowledgements, you can add them in as well. So we have this review plan. So the review plan will, over time, get filled out with people assigned to tasks. It's got tick boxes for when you've finished one of the tasks, links to every part of every tool that you might want to use, like Prospero, I think, for registering your review. So not just our tools, other tools that might be useful. But basically, it's just a list of the things you need to do to finish your review, which is identical to the list I showed a little earlier. There's a section for the introduction. So in the introduction, it's just a blank box. So we have here some tips and some advice on how to write an introduction. We then have an example introduction here as well. So this is from our real blue light for acne review. But these are just a guide to kind of show you the kind of structure and the way to write it. For experts who have done a lot of reviews, of course, they don't need it. But for newer people, we think this could actually help them just get going and structure their intro. We don't do any writing at this point for you. You still just copy paste your introduction into that box. We do start writing here though at eligibility criteria. So you just answer the questions for your review. So we find it best to do this as a team. So we normally get, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 of us who are working on the review together, put this up on the screen, either Zoom and share screen or sit in the same room and look at the big screen. And we actually work through it together. And it just helps you focus. It just helps you focus your attention on each question as it comes, and it allows you to kind of get your review structured really nicely, really fast. So for instance, for this one, I might say my participants are people with acne would be my population. I think this is blue light. So I might say put blue light in for my intervention. At every single option, there's always an add button. So I might add an exclusion criteria, which is red light. So we're not interested in anyone using red light to treat acne. Comparator. Any outcomes? So I think reduction in acne will be an outcome for our primary. One of our secondaries maybe and well, you actually never put in excludes for outcomes apparently, or so I was told. But another one also might be you might save some dollars as well. So then setting, generally you would run something like this in the community, and then you would exclude if they were treating acne in the hospital. We only want randomized trials. So if I come down now to output, and this is at the bottom of every section, you can actually see how it's starting to write and structure my review for me or my protocol for me. This will all be joined together at the end into one big file. But if you don't like it, you can hit rewrite and it will rewrite it slightly. So all of the writing that we do for the protocol and for the method section has been written by us. So we have a random selection sort of generator built into it. So it randomly picks some sentences to go with your answers. But we wrote every sentence by hand. Nothing's generated by AI or anything else. So hopefully everything is a good sentence. Search strategy, then it's just a matter of starting to assign people to different jobs, whether or not someone was any good, any tools they might have used, whether it's peer reviewed, did you restrict by conference abstracts or book chapters? Then supplementary, very common now to do a backwards forward citation analysis. Backwards citation analysis is checking the reference lists. Forwards is finding anyone who cited your included studies. And then any tool you might have used to do that. What databases you might have searched, Cochrane, Embase, and PubMed, pretty common. Date you ran your search, whether you run it, whether you had a date limit backwards. You might want to copy and paste your search strings in here. Then we move on to study screening. So me and Paul might screen. Again, into full text, who screened the citation search, me and Mark maybe, who screened trial registries. Disagreements was third author, I guess. We used our tool, which is Screenatron. But we have put the other people we know who have good tools in there, like Epi and Covidence. Then finally, in this section, we have whether or not you followed Prisma guidance to do your review. We default to no because we don't want people to accidentally say that they used Prisma or followed Prisma guidance if they didn't, basically. So you have to actually purposefully say that you did follow Prisma guidance. Data extraction is the last kind of section I'm going to spend a little bit of time on. So you can, how many UPATA did you form on? I guess me and Paul doesn't like data extraction, so he won't do it. But, so this is the kind of neat bit, is that we have pre-identified the vast majority of the common things you extract when you do a review. So the common things you extract from studies that are in your review. Not all of them, of course, because we can't. That would be impossible or madness. But like the really common ones. So study year, country, very common. Number of participants, you would probably always get. The interventions. So for this one, probably not. So I just said other and add in wavelength, because the wavelength of the light used might be something important. Usual care. Also, what it will do is you can just copy over from your outcomes. You can copy from your other sections as well. So it'll kind of automatically copy them. Well, if you press the button. So that's data extraction. The good thing about that is something I'll show later, but it will start to actually build your data extraction forms for you. It will also then, from that, write the results for you as well. But I'll get to that later. Assessment risk of bias, same thing. We'll use that. Measurement of effect, we'll use. And I keep forgetting to add meta insight and all the meta pairwise and other tools in here. One day I'm going to remember after doing this to put them in, but they'll be in there hopefully by tomorrow. Just how are you going to do it all? How many studies triggered a meta-analysis? We'll say 3. Whether fixed effects are random, we'll use fixed. Unit of analysis, missing data strategy, we won't talk to anyone. I-squared for heterogeneity, whether you did publication bias. I don't think we'll get enough studies for publication bias. Any subgroup analysis. Study information, where you might have registered it. If you registered it, you can put that in here. Then, and this is, I don't know, for me, this is much cooler than it kind of might look, but you can actually then add in how each author contributed to the study design of the study, because I always hate filling out that author contributions bit at the end, primarily because I'm a bit over it by the end of it. So you can just go that, you know, Paul did that, I did that, Mark did that. Then it will actually list out and say, these people did that, and that can be your study contribution section. Same with acknowledgement. We can say that Matt gave us a bit of help with the stats on it as well. I'll skip the results and I'll come back to that. So I'll move down to study characteristics. So you can see that we've got some of the data there already. So all the data I selected earlier, such as study authors, year, country, starting to pre-fill and put the headings in for me. You can actually type your data in there or your numbers in there if you like, which I would recommend. Or if you just like to use Excel, you can just download it and this will actually give you an Excel spreadsheet ready to go. Obviously, when you kind of do it for real, it's got more headings than this, but now you've kind of got an Excel spreadsheet, a data extraction form, you know, ready to go, really. You might have to do a tiny bit of tidying, but generally not a lot. Same with study outcomes. It will fill in study authors and year, of course, but then reduction in acne, and it'll also start to put your study outcomes. Again, you can export to Excel. You can edit stuff. You can add columns and rows. In theory. I'll have to figure out why that's dropping off. But anyway. And then we've got review plan. So now at the end, you can see all those people I said did all of that work. They're now slotted into all of the columns for people. And then method section, and I'm not going to use this one. So I'll go and I'll select this one, which is got everything filled in a lot better. And by that, I mean, I've got my intro in there. See, eligibility criteria is a lot more filled out, got a lot more data, assessment of risk of bias. So it's all filled out a lot better, basically. There's just more information. So when you're ready, you hit generate output, and it will then write. So it puts that intro in there at the top. Oh, I didn't register. I should probably register this. But it will then write your eligibility criteria, put it all together, your search strategies, what you did, who did what. So it puts in initials for everyone. So me and JCPJ, so that's me and Paul. And it'll just kind of write everything in a reasonable way. Oh, this has also got the results in it, but I'll come back to that. If you don't like it, you can hit rewrite, and it will rewrite it till you find one you're kind of quite happy with. Then, like, we never suggest publishing this. We always suggest you copy, paste it into a Word document, go through it and, tweak it a little bit, fix it, maybe change it if you like. But it gives you 90% method section, 85 to 90% done. And of course, it's always so much easier to edit something that exists rather than write into a blank page. So that's the review wizard for writing protocols and method sections. There's any questions about reviews and methods? No? I'll then move on to the next bit, which is how to do a search, how to use the tools to help with a search. So I'm going to use this one for the rest of the time because I don't really want to show you guys how to upload and download files, although I might just do that once. So when you're doing a review, you need to build a search, of course. The best way to, well, I think the best way to build a search, I should say, is to use some pre-identified studies that are relevant to your review, called seed studies, to help you construct your search. So what you do is you look through those seed studies and you identify commonly appearing words that might help you construct a search. You then use those words in your search strategy or to put your searches together. This is something that people have been doing for a very long time before tools came along to help. Like I used to do it, when I was I don't want to say a young person, but when I was a bit younger, before I had these tools to help. But then you would just have to underline or highlight, print it out, and somehow work it out. You don't have to do that anymore. So what I will do though is I will just upload a file. So I've got these 10. So these are an EndNote, but you don't need to use EndNote. You can just put them straight in from PubMed if you like. So I'm just going to dig these out of EndNote. I'll put them in my downloads. I'll pull them out as an XML file. I'll just put that file in. That'll put it up. It'll process it. I use XML because that's the fastest to process. So that is this one. You also have to just give it a second to process and work out that it's references, which it's now done. So then I'll just put that in. So it doesn't do anything clever, but what it will do is it will just go through and it will just read, well, analyze is a better word, I guess, analyze the titles, abstracts, and keyword fields, which is the mesh term fields. And it will tell you which words appear in those fields and how many times each word appears. So nothing too special, but it does save you a bit of time when you're putting your search together, and it may help identify a few words you might have missed. And I have a blank Word document, and I won't build a full search, but I will just get started. So the idea is then that you go down and you go, well, okay, acne appears in 10. So the unique column is how many of the articles I uploaded does it appear in? It appears in all 10, which is a lot, all of them. It appears in 10 titles, abstract 48 times. Sorry, it appears in the titles 10 times, abstract 48 times, keywords or mesh term fields 12 times. And it gets 70 points. So then you just get acne. Oh, and I might kill my Chrome. Then you just go down the list. So treatment, although this is a word that appears a lot, you don't want to use the word treatment in a search strategy because it will find everything in PubMed. So it's a bit pointless. So this is kind of also what I mean by you still need to kind of know what you're doing, because if you don't know what you're doing, maybe you would add the word treatment to your search. But if you kind of got a vague idea of what a search should look like, you know that the word treatment and say the word patients are not words that are generally put into a search strategy. But I will grab blue light, which is the intervention side as well. So the intervention is different. So this goes in here with an and. Then you go down the list. So LED. So LED might have been a word that I didn't think of when I was first constructing this, you know, if I didn't have this sort of thing to do. So phytotherapy, that looks pretty important. And I'm not going to go down the full list, by the way. And then maybe lesions. So lesion seems to be appearing lots of times. I'm guessing acne is a lesion of some sort. So I might bang that in there as well. So that's kind of, and this is how I actually still build searches or do build searches. So this is exactly what I do in real life as well. So then kind of, then I would add whatever other words I like. So I would keep going down the list till I hit the end, or maybe not the end if it was a really long list. Just pulling out and grouping together similar words, and then, you know, combining different words with an and between them till I had a search I was quite happy with. Once I'd done that, so those were the keywords or text words that I'm going to use in my search. Then I'll move on, and we have what's called Meshmate, which is very Australian. It's a tool to help you find mesh terms. So this will API directly into Suggest, unless my internet connection drops out. So this is one of the tools that actually takes a lot of internet power for some reason. Cool. Primarily because I forgot to clear it after I used it last time. So I'll clear it. So what you do is you just type in whatever word you want. So I might put in acne. Okay, so is there a term for acne? I hit search and it comes back with acne vulgaris is the appropriate mesh term. Click on it and I'll add it in here down to my selected or search strings. If I don't want it, I actually can click that red button and it will take it out. If you're not sure if you want it or not, you can click the word and it will actually take you to the mesh database, which is handy. So you can then check it properly for real. If you do like it, you can just copy it, add it into your search, and it will come pre-tagged with the appropriate field tagging so that you can copy and paste it directly into PubMed to have it run the search. And it knows that this is a search only in the mesh fields. If you don't understand what any of that means, it's fine. I'm sure you've got some very talented health librarians who will know exactly what that means that you can go and talk to. So I guess I have to do acne. I might just try phototherapy and so I'll see what happens. So phototherapy, that's a good mesh term word as well. So I'll copy that, bang it here into my search down here. So then I've kind of got a search almost ready to go. So then I'll move on to the next tool, and I will hit clear this time. So I move on to the next tool, which is Search Refiner. So you kind of use word frequency tool and the Meshmate tool to construct and build a PubMed search that you're happy with. Once you've got a search you're quite happy with, you then move over to the Search Refiner tool to refine your search. So generally, when you start off, the first search you build is probably going to be probably find a bit too much irrelevant evidence. It's very common for you to then refine your search and try to reduce the amount of hits it's getting while still ensuring it's finding all the relevant stuff. So Search Refiner is a tool to help you do that. And I think I've got it here. So the first thing you need is the PubMed search that you're thinking about using. So I've got a PubMed search here. Then you need the PubMed IDs of some seed studies. So they have to be in a column. PubMed IDs you can get from PubMed, or they're in the accession number field in EndNote as well, but they're also in the PubMed entry. So you just need to grab those numbers and then put them in a column like this and put them into the Search Refiner. And hit Visualize. So again, this runs API directly to PubMed. So this is running it live in PubMed. So what it will do is it will run the search. It will tell you how your search is performing. But the critical or the cool bit is it will also tell you how each individual word in your search is performing. So the box to look at up the top is this one. So 13,477 total citations retrieved means this search finds 13,000 citations in PubMed at the moment, which is a lot for a topic like this. 10 relevant citations to find is how many relevant citations or seed studies did I upload? So that's these 10 here. So I uploaded 10 seed studies or 10 relevant studies and said this search should find these 10. 10 relevant citations found is, well, how many of those 10 is this currently finding? And it finds all 10. So it's finding all my relevant evidence, which is great. It's also finding way too much irrelevant evidence, which is bad. So the idea then is to zoom in and try to work out which bits, if any, or which words you can take out of your search, which might reduce this number while making sure we're still finding all 10. So the word whiteheads is a good example. So the word whiteheads finds 167 citations in PubMed by itself. So that's the number outside of the bracket. Is how many citations does this word find in PubMed? That's 167. 0, the number inside the brackets, it's how many of those relevant papers or seed studies that I uploaded. So those 10 seed studies, how many of those 10 seed studies does the word whiteheads find? And it finds 0. So although I thought it might be a good word, it turns out it's actually not needed and is drawing in unnecessary citations for me to screen. So the idea is to kind of go around and maybe get rid of those ones. So pimples, whiteheads, blackheads are all pretty useless and not helping my search at all. So I'm going to get rid of them by just deleting them from the search query box, then hitting Visualize again. So this just reruns the whole search and reprocesses everything.
Well, it's running, Justin. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
So I know very, very little about searching. I guess you could put limit on the study design here, can you? My understanding is there are things, say, like trial filters, so that you could put in to try and restrict to just randomized trials if that was what you're interested in. Is that, I mean, you could add it by adding terms in another bit of the search. Is there any automation for different study designs in yet or not?
Oh, that's not just an excellent question. I think that's the first time I've ever been asked that question. The second part, the automation part. So yes. So what I'll do is I'll actually refine the search based on like the Pico stuff first.
Mm.
Then once I've refined it based on that, I then just add the study filter at the end.
Oh, okay. So that's coming up. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just ahead of time. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, rather than sort of trying to refine the search, the study filter, because you generally don't, because generally they're pretty good. Because
Yeah,
a study design filter is a published filter by someone else that they've tested and
yeah.
evaluated. So yeah. So normally I don't bother using it in here because I find it just is a bit redundant, but definitely that's something I would add at the end for sure. Secondly, is it
Okay.
automated yet? No. It's something I always would love to do. I haven't worked out where to put it or how to do it. I am going to one day find a week to add it to the polyglot tool, which is the tool I look at next,
Mhm.
where you just click a button and it automatically adds in the study design filter for all the databases for you without you having to do it. Um,
That would seem good, I think.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah. So it's a great idea and it's something I would love to do. It's just, yeah, hard to find the time in all the other cool things that we like doing as well. Um, so as you can see, I've taken out blackheads, whiteheads, pimples. Hasn't really made much impact. I'm still finding 13,000 citations. So despite the fact I removed some words, my search still is way, it's not very good. So I keep refining and keep trying to take words out to see what impact they have. As a clue, the bigger the box and thicker the line, the more words it's drawing in. So you can see Lesion brings in over 400,000 references in PubMed, but finds 5 of my seed studies. So maybe I could take that out to see what happens, because maybe I don't need it to still find all my relevant evidence, because lesions is quite a broad word. So I'll try that. I'll also refine the rest of it as well, because I have refined this search a few times in my life. So I'll just kind of try to refine both of them and see if I can reduce my screening workload by taking out unnecessary terms. Cool. So I've taken out a bunch of terms. Looking up here now, 1,000 citations to screen instead of 13,000. So I think that's a time saving of about 100 hours. Done just by taking out a couple of words. 10 relevant citations to find, 10 relevant citations found. Means I'm still finding all the evidence. So that's great. So this search is actually probably about right now. And this is probably a search that I would add a study design filter to now and then run it. But if you make a mistake, and I can never remember which words are mistake words, and by mistake, I mean building a search, over refining a search so it starts to lose evidence. So now, although we've uploaded 10, we've got less to screen, we're only finding 7 of our relevant citations. So this search has been over refined and we can't use it. So you can just hit Control Z to put it all back and hit visualize again and maybe see if there's other tweaks you can make. But for me, I would be pretty happy with this search. So now we've got a good, decent PubMed search. So now I need to translate this search and run it in the other databases. Well, I need to run it in PubMed as well, but I'm not going to do that. But to run it in the other databases, so I take this search, I'll now go to the polyglot tool. So the polyglot search translator I'm not spending long on it. It's been around for a very long time. It's, I think used in every health library around the world now. So it's very common. But anyway, so all you do is you just pop your search in there. Then you just go down the list of databases, and we've got quite a lot now. You find the databases that you're using. So you can use PubMed searches, but it will also translate OVID searches as well. Again, if you don't know what an OVID is, it's fine. If you just use PubMed, it's all good. So I'll translate PubMed searches or OVID searches. So then you come down and you find the database you like, such as Cochrane. So you can then grab the Cochrane search. And I did load up Cochrane earlier. So I go to Advanced Search, into the Search Manager, which is the only part of the Cochrane search interface that likes field tagging. And that's my Cochrane library search now run, ready to export, download, and deduplicate. Same thing with Embase, except with Embase, There's one proviso with the polyglot tool. It does not translate automatically mesh terms into the appropriate entry terms or send out subject headings or other subject headings across the databases. You still need to check or at least look at and make sure that that term is the correct entry term or send out subject heading. Again, if you don't know what that means, it's fine. I'm sure someone in the library does. But pretty much the same thing. Copy it, paste it, Embase search is sort of done. Although I didn't check to make sure those terms are right, but I've done it before and I know that they're the same terms, so we're good. So then my Embase search is done, ready to export these results and start to deduplicate, which I'll do next. So the deduplicator is a tool to use to deduplicate search results. So when you search Cochrane, PubMed, Embase, CINAHL, PsycInfo, join them all together into a big bundle of references, there's going to be overlap and duplicates in there. Quite a lot, normally. About 20 to 25% of them will be duplicates. You really want to get rid of those duplicates before you start to screen them. And that's what the deduplicator is for. So we have two algorithms to use when using the deduplicator. The first algorithm is called relaxed. This is a relaxed algorithm, which means you can chill and not do any work. Basically, you can upload it, download the results, and it's not going to remove any unique studies. But no deduplicator is perfect. So it'll still leave a few duplicates behind that you'll notice and pick up during screening, which is fine. You can just pick them up during screening, no problem. Or if you're really hardcore and want to get rid of every duplicate, you can switch to the focused algorithm. So the focused algorithm will detect, well, almost or every duplicate, but it will also mislabel a couple of unique studies. So you do need to spend 10, 15 minutes checking the results. So this is really more for hardcore search specialists who just really like to pass on super deduplicated sets. So I uploaded this. I'm not going to upload again. So this is basically a bunch of references full of duplicates. I'm going to use the focused one because I'm a hardcore search nut, I guess. So then I'll upload them into the deduplicator. It will deduplicate them, and then it will group them together based on the likelihood that they're a duplicate. So extremely likely means it's a duplicate. Although I always recommend whenever you start to use new tools, check everything just to be sure for the first couple of times. I've checked these a lot and I've never found a mistake here in extremely likely duplicates. Highly likely, again, this is like the algorithm's like 95 or higher % chance it's a duplicate. There's never any mistakes in here either. So again, you don't really need to check either of these two top pools. But if it's made a mistake, and it will probably, using focused algorithm, generally make a few, it'll be here in the likely duplicates pool. So here is where we recommend for 113 duplicates, I'd probably recommend 5 minutes just skimming through and checking to make sure it hasn't made a mistake. And by that, I mean here, and this is very handy because the very top one is a mistake. And by the way, the mistakes, the way the algorithm is set up and the display is set up, the mistakes are more likely to drift to the top of this set. So you're more likely to see the mistakes early when you're still keen, so you also don't miss it. So this one here is, although they look like they're the same study, same authors, I think, probably, although they've probably got one round the wrong way, but anyway, different DOI, different journal, different volume, different page numbers. So this is not a dupe. So this is most likely the conference abstract presentation of this, which is the published paper. So this is not a duplicate of these three, but these three are. So you just hit not dupe. That'll just move it to the not dupe pool, and you're done. And then you just scroll down, and these ones don't look the same, but these are duplicates of each other. So this is called a duplicate set. So you just need to split this set up. So you go split group. These two are duplicates of each other. These two are duplicates of each other. So I'll split them up. and then it just splits them into the two different groups. And then you just keep going down till you're done. You can also, if you're really hardcore, but I'm not even this hardcore, you can even go through and say, actually, I want to keep this one instead. I want to keep that one. You got to be pretty hardcore to do that. But if you're really hardcore, you can even choose which reference you want to keep and which you want to discard. So when you get to the end, you're done. So here are all the singulars, we call them. But these are all the references which don't have a duplicate. And then I'll just export these. So I'll just download the 578 deduplicated set. I'll save it as an XML, and we'll probably default some of this stuff. But at the moment, you still need to select what file type you want to save it as. And this set is ready for screening. So I'll just save that. This will now save that into my project files list. So in here, there should be one that says ready for screening. So it saves it there, ready to go. So then Screenatron is our next tool, which you use to screen. So you just want to upload some studies. So I'll get the ones I deduplicated and are ready for screening, which is, I think, 500 and something. So this will upload them. So I've kind of, done a bit of screening already here. So I've pre-filled a bit of stuff. But basically, you've got an undecided group here, which is all the undecides where you haven't selected. You've got all references, so you can toggle between the two. You have an exclude group where we currently have none, an include group where we've also got none. So I'll head back to the undecided. So what we have is we have hotkeys to assist with your screening. And by that, I mean, you can just press a button on your keyboard and it will either send to the exclude group or the include group. We have some defaults. So spacebar will be the exclude group as a default, or the number 1 button is also exclude is the default. The left mouse, the left arrow is include, as well as the number 2 button. If you don't like those buttons, that's fine. You can hit this crayon, which is actually an edit symbol. So if you click on the edit symbol, you can actually change the exclude group to nope, which is very Australian. Put an N instead for nope. And, sorry, that was the wrong button. So I'll just change that. I'll go back to nope. I'll put my spacebar back in and N. And then my no group, you can even change the colors if you like. To be a nice dark red. That way you know it's really no. And then include, same thing. You can change this to yep. And the Y button as well. I even change the colors of everything, really. But I think I like that nice blue. You can also add an additional group if you would like, which is quite often you might want to add a group for papers that maybe you want to cite that aren't relevant to your study, but you might want to cite. So you can create a background group. And B for background. And I actually quite like the nice purple for my backgrounds. So now if I press the, oh, sorry, you should always screen in undecided, not in all references, or you'll get very confused. So now if I press the N button, it'll go into the nope group. If I press the Y button, it'll go into the yes group. B for background, go into background. So the way we have it set up is that we're actually running, although it looks like this is all running on a server in Australia, it's actually not. So we're actually running the Screenatron tool on your computer using what's called serverless architecture. So this means that every time you make a decision, you're not sending your decision to Australia and us saving it and sending it back to you. It's all being saved on a cookie in your own local computer, which means you can actually screen and your response time is very fast. So if you can notice that every time I hit that, it's a very fast response time. And that's how we can get those super fast response times. is by using this serverless architecture. We have a nice progress bar. Include keywords. You can see I've got acne, laser, and light as include keywords. So this means every time they show up, there'll be a nice green color. Exclude keywords. I've got a few there which aren't there, but maybe you're not interested in serums for whatever reason. So if you add in serum, that'll be a nice red color. You can change those colors as well if you like. You can also do searching. So if I do blue light, search, this will then show me the 143 articles with blue light in it, which is highlighted nice yellow. You can also search certain fields. So I might only want to search a title field for it. This means that, these 51 articles, high likelihood that these will be includes because my word blue light is in the title. I mean, not guaranteed, but it means you can screen the more likely includes first. Or maybe you'll do the same with the more likely excludes as well. Show abstract, you can just click the button, or a button will show and hide abstract. You can show all abstracts by default if you like, or you can hide all abstracts by default as well. You can even change what fields are displayed as well. We tend to stick to grouping, year, title, authors, abstract, but maybe there's some other stuff you might want to put up as well. Then I think that's actually it. I even remember to do the show hide abstract bit, which I often forget. We do have voice activated screening. This doesn't work very well, unfortunately. So I'll try demoing it, but we have some problems now. Google's been tweaking their API and changing it. So we're struggling to keep up with their new API that they put in, but I might just try it. Nope. Oh, okay, it's working. Yep. Cool. Make sure you hit stop listening when you're done though, because that is Google and they are listening to you. I mean, they're probably listening to you via a different device anyway, so maybe it doesn't matter. But yeah, so you can activate voice activated screening as well, which is pretty neat. I haven't found too many uses for it. I just prefer hitting the space bar for exclude, but it's a pretty fun feature. So once you're done screening, and I'm not going to be done screening. The other thing people do actually ask this is you can actually just multi or select lots of studies. So shift or control, like for everything else. So if I hold down shift and select that one, I'll select all 50. I can automatically exclude those 50. I think same with control button to multi-select different ones all at once, and that will exclude those 4. So that can help if you're doing a bit of a searching thing to try to get rid of stuff as well. So you can select up to 50 at a time and automatically exclude up to 50 at a time. So when you're done, though, you do need to export these. So the Screenatron tool itself does not work out discrepancies between you and your co-screener. You need to use the Disputatron tool to do that. So what I'll do is I will export my includes. So the other thing is you only need to export your includes or yeps or yeses. You don't need to worry about your excludes. So just these 17. So I'm going to grab these 17 and I might call these Justin included. And then I'll just include a couple more. These I'll call my good friend Matt, who gets volunteered for a lot of demos. So I'll then save his includes as well. Then I'll use the Disputatron to work out where we've disagreed. And I'm also just going to remember that we've screened about 110 studies. So I go to Disputatron. What you do is you type in the number of studies you screened, 110, Justin and Matt. I want to put my included in there. And then I'll put Matt's included in here. I'll hit submit. This will then compare those two files, and it will say that we've got a 98% agreement rate, a Cohen's kappa of 0.93, and a Purback coefficient of 0.96. I've been told that they're good numbers to have up nice and high. But yeah, so then it will show you where you've disagreed. So you can see Matt included this one, and Matt also included this one. So if Matt included it, by default, I must have excluded it. So these are discrepancies. If you don't trust us, which you never should, at least until you've used it a bit, you can also click the display both conflicts and agreements, and you can see included by all. That means both me and Matt agreed that this should be included. So it's only these two where we disagreed. So I'll just knock that off, back to these two. Then generally you just want to sit down and have a look at them and talk about them. And you might go, okay, this is still excluded. This one here I might want to include. Then I'll hit export. And these are the 18 that I want to include. So done. So that's kind of your screening now finished. Spider site. Oof. And I'm going to blast a bit quicker because I might have been a bit optimistic about 7:30. So I'll speed up a bit. So Spider site is what you use to do your backwards and forward citation searching. In the past, you'd have to do that in Web of Science or Scopus or Google Scholar. You can now do it automatically. This will do both backwards and forwards at the same time. So you grab your library of included studies. I'll just grab these 6 just to make it a bit quicker and upload them. So this will go off and search the lens.org database, which is a partnership we have. So it's a big database of all cross-matched references. It's very comprehensive. It then says, how many did we find in lens? So that's 6. How many do you need to do yourself manually? If you choose to, 0. That's good. So then output, these are the 254 references from the reference lists. So these are the cited by, although we may change the wording to backwards citations, I think, in the future. And then it's got references citing. So this is 198 articles have cited our 6 input studies. So these are the forwards citing articles. Generally now you might want to screen these. So I'll grab them, export them. So if you're wondering why the numbers don't quite match, it's because we deduplicate automatically those 2 sets so that you don't have any duplicates after you export. So that 6-second queuing is generally accurate. Yeah, so then I'll save this snowballed. I might call it snowballed 2 after the Simpsons cat. So that's a joke showing my age. I think that was in season 1 of The Simpsons, in fact. All right, so done. So now the snowballed articles are here, snowballed 2. So this is 450 references. Now, I could just screen those 450, but what I want to do is I don't want to screen anything I've already screened previously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare them to my search results, which is these 578, which is the dedupe set. So I can remove anything I've screened previously. So I'll go to the deduplicator. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the identify new references tool, which we have in there. So the top one, I'm going to put in anything I've screened previously, which is my ready for screening or my search results. Here, new articles. These are the snowballed articles that I just got. I'll just use relax for this one. I'll upload it. So this will compare those 2 sets, and any reference that appears in both sets gets removed, leaving only new studies that I haven't seen before. So if I save my results, so now instead of having to screen the 450, it's removed 60 articles that I've already screened as part of the search set. So instead, I'll just screen these 390 instead of that 450. That's spider citing and removing duplicates that you've already screened or references you've already screened. Using spider cite. Prisma, I won't do. It's still a bit buggy, unfortunately. But it's just pretty much the Prisma flowchart, and it takes a while to load. So I'll move on to one of the coolest tools we've got. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry, that's next. So TERA. So someone mentioned how to find seed studies. I use TERA a lot to do this. So TERA will use the PubMed similar articles feature, but instead of doing it on a single study, it will do it on as many studies as you like. So if I upload not 450 because that's way too many, I'll just upload these 6. So it pulls out the PubMed ID, runs a search in PubMed, and it finds them for me, which is good. Then what it will do is it will then find all the references that PubMed says is similar to these references, and it will rank them in relevance order according to what PubMed thinks. So although it's found 1,000 relevant or similar studies, we only recommend screening or skimming through the first 50, because if there's any additional relevant studies that you might want to find, the chances are they're in the top 50. So if after looking through the first 50, you haven't found anything relevant, there's not going to be any on the rest either. So generally just skim through the first 50 to see if there's additional relevant studies, or if it's at the start to see if there's seed studies you might want to use. So now I'm going to use meta pairwise. So I don't know much about meta-analysis. Fortunately, there are other people here who do. But meta pairwise is a very cool tool that will do your meta-analysis for you. So I'm guessing most people might have used it, but just in case, so there's, well, that's the home, I guess, but data here, there is really, so you just have to put an Excel spreadsheet here. And I say just because it's actually very, very easy. So there's a very neat kind of way. It tells you how to lay out your Excel spreadsheet if you want to build it yourself, or you can just download the examples and just fill out the examples. And you just put the numbers in the right spots, and it tells you exactly where to put the different numbers. I actually managed to do it myself, and I'm by no means a meta-analysis expert. So very simple, very easy to use. I have one already though. So I'll go to the calculator. Oh, sorry. I'll upload my Excel spreadsheet first. I think I got one, yeah. So it loads it in, and maybe I'll just show you the format. So that's it. It's very simple. Study TRN, put the numbers in the right spots. Very simple to use. Upload complete. Go to the calculator. I'll run a frequentist meta-analysis, and my meta-analysis is done. And the cool thing is, and as I say, I don't know why this is cool, but apparently it's very cool. Fixed effects model and random effects model are both displayed in the diagram, which is really good. If you want, you can, oh, it's also got a Larvae plot, but you can download it as a PDF or a image, and you can just bump that straight into your manuscript. The other cool thing though is you can also download this forest plot as a JSON file, which has all of the numbers in it, which is what I'll do. Done. You can then go to the replicant tool. So I think I've probably already got one in here. You can put in, and I won't upload that because I've already got a JSON file ready to go, but you can put that JSON file that I just downloaded, which is this one, into replicant. And it will, glad that worked. So if you're wondering, that's my dodgy internet as well, while that was, this normally runs much quicker. So then it will just write your results of your meta-analysis for you by extracting data from that forest plot. We also have a little results of the search section to help out a bit, because we do put in the fact that that meta-analysis had 7 studies. So the final bit of your results, search results, was 7. These bits you'll have to fill in yourself. But then it does actually tell you, which is very cool, that there were, well, 7 studies, but there were 31,940 participants across all studies, 16,000 in the reference group and just under 16,000 in the intervention group. It knows that 62% is a high heterogeneity. So if that was 5%, I squared of 5%, they would actually say low. If it was 35%, I think it would say medium. It also gives you random effects, fixed effects as well. And I don't know. And it'll just write that all for you. And it'll also write out individual study results if you want that as well. Again, if you don't like it, I think you can hit regenerate. And again, it will just randomly pick a few different sentences for you. That's replicant. Then if I go back though to my review wizard. So if I come back to the review wizard, and as I say, that doesn't normally take that long to load. That's definitely my dodgy internet. If I go to the results section, it will actually feed in the output from meta pairwise, run through replicant, feed it back into the results section of my review. It will also start to write out study characteristics as well. So if I go down to my study characteristics here, and I did this earlier, if you fill all of this out, so study authors, years, countries, it will also start to write that out under study characteristics as well. So it'll actually start to generate your results section for you. And then again, if I now hit generate output, under results, you can see that it then puts the results from the meta-analysis and results from study characteristics into the manuscript with everything else. It just kind of helps you get that bit closer to a manuscript ready to go. Rewriting again is all there. Study outcomes doesn't work yet. We're putting study outcomes, automatically writing study outcomes next. That's something we're working on this week. So very soon there'll be meta pairwise, auto results writing, study characteristics, auto results writing, study outcomes, automatic results writing as well. I skipped over. So TERA tool is just a reporting tool for interventions. That's more for randomized trials, so I won't talk about that. Meta Insight. So these are the last two tools which I'm nowhere near competent enough to talk about in any meaningful way. But Meta Insight is for doing network meta-analysis. It's also actually very easy to use if you know how to kind of structure the Excel spreadsheet. And then Meta DTA, which is for doing diagnostic test accuracy meta-analysis. Again, pretty easy to use as well. We haven't yet, but we do plan on putting in automatic results writing via replicant for Meta Insight and Meta DTA. At the moment, we've only got it working for Meta Pairwise, but yeah, replicant support or automatic writing from these two is next on our agenda. And that's it. I think I'm out. So I'm done. So thank you all for coming, and I'm going to stop recording.